So I'm going to take you on this journey of embellishing my canvas print titled Quiet. So artmagic.ca, who does all of my prints here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. He's an incredible printer. So he gives me these little certificates of authenticity, and the certificate is made out of the canvas material that he printed my art on. So this is titled Quiet. It's pigment in ink on, it's called Live Canvas. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. 28 by 22 inches, so it's quite big. So I often don't do videos that are so sort of far away, but I wanted to be able to show you what was going on my table. I'm still waiting for some better lighting, and I've been shopping around because my ring light is not reliable. So I feel like it's smoky today, but thank goodness for iPhones. They really are able to capture good lighting for us as artists. So what I want to do, this is the original, and it's just on a little journal page, and it's on a heavy 140-pound watercolor paper, and I want to capture this beautiful gold shimmer that I have in the original. I want to capture the metallics, the bronze on the leaves. This is gold, this is bronze. I want to capture some of that beautiful, vibrant pink that can be, it's a color that I mix up, and it's a color that I really love in a lot of my work. I'm also going to use my neocolour Caran d'Ache ones, which are non-water soluble wax crayons, and I'm going to embellish this canvas. And for those of you that maybe have not put your work into print, maybe you're not visual artists, but you want to just see what it's like to actually work on a canvas, you can just go to a local department store, Winners, Home Sense we have in Canada, and purchase a canvas print. They have some that are on sale, and just play around with adding paints over top. It's quite a fun process. So, you know, you don't have to have your art reproduced. What I use for myself, I've learned how to do all of my own photography during the pandemic, and I use an easel. I go outside, I wait until there's even lighting, and it's sort of an overcast day. Those are the best days to do photography. I make sure that my painting is straight up on my easel, and I go in with my iPhone and I get the best straight on image photo that I can in the highest resolution. I don't use any filters, of course, and I put in this color card, so when I take this to my printer, if he doesn't see the original, he knows exactly what colors to match to the original. And as you can see, he did an incredible job here. These colors just match perfectly. So I'm kind of digressing, but I want to embellish this canvas print to make it feel more like the original, and just to bring it out so someone can have a reproduction of my work and at a larger scale. This can be blown up to 38 by 48 inches. I am now shipping rolled canvases, which is new, and I'm super excited. So I love to embellish all of the canvases. And while I have the time and energy, and while I love the process, I will keep doing that. So if you order a print from me right now, I am embellishing those prints. And I just wanted to show you how I would go about this. The first thing I start with is the paint pens and the things that are not going to be smudged when I'm working around on this canvas. I'm going to zero in on my Posca paint pen. And right now I'm going to be going in and trying to get this bronze that I have on the leaf. And so I'm going to, with a little bit of energy, I've had quite a bit of caffeine today, which makes my essential tremor worse, but that's okay because the original probably had a little bit of a tremor as well. And I'm just going to go down like that, and then just kind of go out. So this is with a water-based permanent Posca paint pen. And you can just kind of see where I've done it. And I'm gonna go over top more than once. I'm actually gonna change my position, and I'm gonna work over here, and I'm gonna try and steady my hand a bit. And when I go over this again, I'll add a bit more energy, because you wanna add some of the same energy into your work that you had when you first painted it. And then, you know, people will look at this canvas print and think, oh, is that an original? Like, how did you how did you get some of those embellishments? I think for this one, I'm just deciding, do I want it to be a really bright gold? I think I'm gonna go with not such a bright gold initially. I'm gonna start with my Sharpie water-based acrylic paint pen that's well loved. But if I wanted to go with something much, much brighter and more shimmery, I would go with this oil-based Decocolor pen. The only challenge with this is it's so bright it might take over, and I feel like I don't want to override some of the shimmer that I'd like to add in with that gold. So the good thing is you can start with this pen, acrylic, and then if you don't care for it, you can go over top with this one. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna get some of the gold shimmer onto the canvas. I'm just gonna shake it up and see what you guys are looking at here. I'm gonna sort of steady my hand and go downward. And this pen is starting to run out, and it has run out. Fortunately, I have another one beside me. I'm just gonna give it a quick shake. And this one is brand new, so it may come out a little bit fast. This is a risk, but that's quite beautiful. I almost feel like I need to do I need a slightly thinner? Let's just see. Okay, and like I said, you can go over it after it's dry with the oil-based paint pen. You can just sort of see the shimmer. You can see that it's wet. And again, I'm gonna move my position over here. And I'm just gonna go try and steady my hand. I'm trying to cut coffee out of my day, but it's really, really hard. I have a preschooler who's up early and really busy and has been going to bed late. And the smoke here in Calgary from the forest fires, I just feel like I get a bit of a headache, and that caffeine helps. So this is my accountability check-in. Hopefully on my next couple of videos, I won't have had coffee. So I really, really like that. I feel like if it was brighter, it might overtake what I'm gonna do on these sides. And so I'm gonna go directly into adding this gold, which is really hard to pick up with photography. My printer, artmagic.ca, does an incredible job. It's just really hard to get that metallic. So I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna just bring you over a little bit. Maybe add on a little bit of light. And I'm using some liquetex acrylic ink in iridescent bright gold. And I'm gonna add just a tiny bit, just a tiny, tiny bit of iridescent rich copper nearby, and I can always mix them and just sort of assess. Just make sure you can see me. This is the first time I've embellished this canvas. I have to be careful because my original is here. I'm working with wet paint. I'm gonna use my favorite watercolor brush, which I don't normally recommend because these acrylic inks are very hard on brushes, but we'll do it because I love the marks, and I'm very, I painted this original with this brush. So that will kind of help. So I'm gonna bring in this gold. Look at that. And I'm gonna add energy. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm just gonna kind of add it around the way I see it kind of come down on the original here. And then when the light picks this up, when someone has it in their home, it will just stand out. Sometimes embellishing, especially the first time I've embellished artwork after it's put into print, it takes longer, I find, than painting a little original watercolor on paper, because I paint fairly quick. But it's just that process of learning the materials. Obviously the acrylic ink is not what I used here, so I had to practice and really figure out what materials work best on canvas. and which ones, if someone walks by, won't smudge off, right, onto their clothes after they purchase it. Because you can't use watercolor, obviously. Okay, I'm just gonna shake this up again, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go up into this corner over here. So I'm gonna put some acrylic ink. It's a bit bubbly, and that's okay. Sometimes I water it down because you can always go back and add in more. I'm getting it on my watercolor brush, and I see a little bit between the clouds in here. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm not gonna zoom in because I can zoom in after. It's just, for me right now, I just wanna make sure I work on this. I show you what materials I'm using. I encourage you to try this. Like I said, even if you're not an artist, just grabbing a canvas from somewhere and playing around. If you're an artist, I encourage you to consider putting your work into print. Take good quality photos of your work. So if years later you decide to put your work into print, you have it. You have a decent photo before you sell it, if you sell your work. So many details, right? Okay, I'm gonna get around this beautiful rose. And again, I'm kind of moving my hand. This is where the essential tremor comes in handy, because it's giving energy into the work. I'm gonna kind of bring it out here, thin it out a little bit. I love that. Beautiful. And if there's an area you feel like, it's just a little bit too much, like maybe this area, I just wanna bring it out a little bit more, you can add a bit of water before it's completely dry and just lighten it up a little bit. So there's a bit of shimmer, but it's not like overwhelming. And you kind of have to look back at your original, and the gold here is so vibrant. The gold here is vibrant. This is just a hint of it. So I've been able to pull that into my canvas. And now what I'm gonna do is switch brushes. I'm just gonna clean this brush briefly. Oh no, what I'm gonna do is add a tiny bit of bronze. I'm gonna just add a hint of this bronze. And I'm gonna keep my paper towel handy. And I love to mix the metallics. So I'm gonna add in that bronze right over here. I love that, just on the edges where you can see the natural watercolor lines on this reproduction. And then, you know, I might add some interest down here, just in the corners. I'm gonna check my camera angle, see if you can see. So just adding that in here, right in here, adding that shimmer. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm gonna spread it out a little bit. And again, it's obvious that an artist did this because, you know, the machines are getting good at adding embellishment and selling, you know, reproductions at stores now. Whereas before, as an artist, it was really cool. Sorry, just was wondering what that was. It's really cool to be able to embellish your work and make it feel more like an original, that original touch of the artist. I love that. Artificial intelligence is going to be getting really good at matching artist marks. I'm kind of digressing. I'm gonna add more bronze up here and just along this edge, and then kind of get some of the paint off my brush and smooth it out, mix it in with the gold. And I don't really want like the blobs of like where it kind of pockets there, so just gonna do that. Okay. And I really am happy with that. The next thing I'm gonna do, just so I don't smudge anything, I'm just gonna quickly get this paint off of my glass palette, because I do not want to get it on my original or this canvas on the corners. It's very white. I use a lot of white space in my work, and I love that. I often explain how I feel it's like getting more comfortable with silence in a conversation. It's like This is, the topic. This is like the interest of the conversation. And then often it's easy to find pauses uncomfortable. And actually my first YouTube video, I said the word so many times it drove me nuts. I could hardly watch it back. And I realized that pausing is more uncomfortable for me than it is for the audience to hear. And I'm embracing those pauses now, or I'm starting to, but it's almost like I embrace white space in my work because it really just brings out so much with the mark making and the paint when you have white space, if that makes sense. Okay, focus. I get so excited. So I'm back to my paintbrush. This is just a basic mixed media brush. I got it at Michael's. You can hardly tell what color it is because it's very well loved. And I'm just gonna see, what I'm gonna do is move my camera down a little bit. I'm gonna take you all for a ride. Just a little bit here. And I'm gonna move this particular light out of the way. And then what I'm gonna do is just, you can see a little bit closer. Oh, there goes, this is why I'm waiting for a new light. Bear with me, take a moment, take a deep breath. Think about how I've inspired you with this video. We'll practice gratitude for being able to paint and as an outlet. Okay, so here's this color that I mixed up, and I'm gonna add it in right up here, fairly thick. And I'm gonna I've done this so many times with my canvas prints, and then I'm just gonna give it a bit of energy. I love that. And then I'm gonna go down, really carefully reposition, and I'm gonna do this one here, fairly thick. And it's just this gorgeous, vibrant pink. And I wouldn't say like pink is one of my favorite colors. I'd say peachy pink is a color I love. This is definitely a bright pink that I don't typically use, but it really worked in this painting. Okay, so there we go. And so this is something that when it dries, it will have so much texture. And when somebody purchases this canvas print or they see it, they get really close and I say, you can feel that and you can feel the texture, and it just sort of takes the print to a new level. Especially because my original, yes, it did actually have acrylic paint in it and texture. So that's pretty cool that I have it over here as well. I'm just gonna clean off my brush and I'm gonna do silver lining on the leaves, which I like the silver paint pens. My favorite is the very strong Decoart paint pen. Oh, and just so I don't smudge anything, what I'm gonna do first, I'm just gonna hop out, make sure I don't have anything that can get on my original. I'm gonna use my neocolour 1 crayon, and I'm gonna do some texture down in this area. I'm gonna just see if it helps to have a little bit more light, pardon my shadow. And what I wanna do is just show you, without pushing too hard, this adds an incredible texture. It's really hard to see on camera, so I'll just do a little bit here. But this is the neocolour 1 crayon, and it's permanent. It's not water soluble. So if someone rubs up against this canvas print, they're not gonna get paint on them. It's not like an oil stick where it may not be dry. Okay, so I will go back in. I have this beautiful light buttery yellow, and I love making marks, textured marks. Again, you have to be careful not to push too hard because canvas prints are really sensitive to pressure. You don't want that kind of finger poke look through the back. But you can just see how vibrant that is. And the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna shake up my Decoart silver pen, It's fairly strong, so I'm just gonna see. One last thing I want to do is brighten this white, because as soon as I use that Decoart pen, I just want to get some fresh air, especially because I do have a tiny headache from all the smoke here, but I'm hiding inside because art is my therapy. And you can just see I'm brightening up. I am pretty shaky, but if I go over it again, I can straighten those lines a bit. Okay. So I've just brightened that up. I love brightening up the whites. I did think about doing some etching where I put down blue paint and then a whole bunch of white after that blue paint's dry and then etch in just like I did with the original. But that would be tricky. So I'm gonna be careful not to smudge anything going on over here. And I'm gonna go in and just check out this silver. It's so bright and vibrant. And I usually do white accents, like lines on my leaf, but I just went with silver in the original. I'm so pleased I did. It's just beautiful. And again, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna do this one up here and be really careful not to smudge. That's the only disadvantage of showing you all this process is camera angles and smudging, and this is the first time I've embellished this print. Normally when I film myself embellishing prints, I make sure I've had quite a bit of practice. Okay, and so I'm just making this silver. It's beautiful. I'm gonna go over here and just kind of do a little bit of line work like the original, not go all the way, because in the original it didn't go all the way. You can see all the TLC that goes into these canvas prints, right? And that's why I might have to give myself a little raise on these canvas prints, because they do take a lot of time. Make sure I don't smudge. And there we go. Just one more over here. And it's really, with embellishment, you don't want to repaint the whole thing, which I get excited and I have done that, but that's not the goal today. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can slip you all out of here. My apologies. And show you up close some of the texture and the shimmer. And I think that looks really, really good. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope I'm not making you too dizzy.